Okay, so we're experts. Perfect. That was just great. A couple questions to get started. What does somebody stand up and let us know, what is your ideal student, your perfect student? What does your perfect student look like? Give me a few characteristics. Somebody raise your hand and share out with us.
Engaged.
You said engaged? So just a student that's engaged. Somebody that's engaged, they are your perfect student, right? Okay. Anyone else? One more. Say it one more time.
Follows directions the first time.
The first time. That is key. The first time. Yes, I get that. And one more right here.
A willingness to learn from their mistakes.
Willingness to learn from mistakes. All right. All right, so with all the teachers in here, now identify your perfect teacher. Don't identify yourself. Your perfect teacher. What would a perfect teacher look like to you?
Someone who has good classroom management.
Classroom management, that is key. Yes.
Someone who builds really good relationships with their students.
Great relationships. All one more up here.
A willingness to learn from their mistakes.
I respect that. We all, as adults, we do need to learn from our mistakes and all of our positions. Yes. So, with that, there are a few people who came in. Did you receive a piece of paper when you walked in? Could you raise your hands? We have a little something for them back there, too. Yes. Those were the ones who, and some of you were already in this session, or from the last session you stayed in, but these were the first ones who were in here, so they were the first people that came into the room. We have a little something for them. And, sorry, I'm getting over a little coat. Anybody have a tissue? Sorry, this is so refreshing.
There we go. Oh.
I don't need a tissue, I was just saying it's really easy. So, thank you. All right. So just trying to wake you up a little bit. Listen, so the questions that we asked, the participation, as you notice, you may have seen Mr. Adams go around and hand out what? Some candy, some stuff. Oh, you have that? That last one? Yes. There's one more in just a moment. There's this woman in just a moment. But he was handing out some things to people who were participating, right? The first people who came in first, they received a little something as well because they were on time. They were not tardy. They had great attendance. Somebody right here was being thoughtful, respectful, helped out, was going to be willing to hand out some tissue. And so those are different things. We're talking about PBIS, different things that you can model. That was just modeling, showing how even as adults, we do things for things, right? We want to be recognized, we like to be acknowledged, and we like to do things, we receive stuff, so everybody receives something, feel good because they feel as though they were a part of it. And lastly, anybody here been to, or your school, you were a student at a PBIS school? Meaning you were a student and you went through, can you share your experience, just something from your experience?
I went to school, we were Hardy Panthers, and so we had Panther books, and so every Friday we got to go to the school store to use our Panther books, and every dance we got into was 5 Panther books, and so it helped to really develop the culture of the school. We walked around with Panther paws on our faces, face painted with pep rallies, and things like that, so I am a PBIS kid.
Got some green. Wow. I don't know how big it is, but it's something green. It folds. It doesn't jiggle, it folds, but it works. It still works. There we go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If we can go on to our learning targets, things that you're going to learn today before you walk out of this room today. You're going to be able to identify the challenges and learn how to adapt PBIS framework to meet the high school needs. Also learn how to form a dedicated PBIS team and explore the role of school leadership in maintaining and promoting PBIS initiatives. And lastly, you'll learn how to monitor the success of the PBIS interventions. I think we have another section here. We'll have this is a video. Hi, my name is TJ Perry. I'm the proud principal here at the South Cobb High School, and letting you know that we are going to go through the PBIS initiative with positive behavior interventions and supports starting this school year coming up. And I'm looking excited about it. I've been through the program at a middle school. I saw the benefits from it and would like to implement it here at the high school. High school kids are just taller middle school kids, and they still like to work for incentives and rewards, and so it's a shift of a mindset of working from, as an administrator, oftentimes we find ourselves in the weeds of discipline and the negative data. We want to focus on the ones who are doing what they're supposed to, and then accentuating that by having different incentives or reward for them for doing what they're supposed to do. And so that's where we want to bring it here at the high school level. I'm excited about it. Staff is on board. We have a great team together, and from that point, we're looking at doing the positive things here at South Cobb.
Hello, I'm Sarah.
All right, just wanted to show that to see, that's basically my why we're doing it. All right, you have to have that vision. It has to come from the top. So when I asked earlier, the administrators here, the assistant principals, your job is to convince your principal how you need to step it up with your PBIs, and the teachers to say that to your administrators, because principals should be in these sessions because they should learn about it. It comes, it flows as well as the principal wants it to happen. And yes, at my school it's not a non-negotiable, it's a non-negotiable. We do PBIS, that's what we are going to do, understanding where it comes from and what the impact that it has. So it has to start from the top. All right, we just wanted to see that why and what we're doing. And then I'm gonna pass it on over here to Mr. Adams.
And I'm gonna pass it to Dr. Strachan.
We got it. We'll go back and forth. Hey, my name is Sean Strong. I'm assistant principal at South Cobb High School. And so one of the things that Mr. Perry said, he is so right. It has to, we were talking to a young lady at lunch, and she was talking about some woes. And one of the things that, I can't identify with is that, I don't have an issue with leadership. You know what I mean? My principal he's bought into PBIS. So, because he is bought into PBIS, it's so easy as a team, as a committee, to get it going. I mean, we just have that support. And so that's critical. One of the things that we did this year also is that, that little thing in the Georgia portal called the TEEX? And you get your certification through it and all that stuff every year, and we're doing it. So we made it our school TEEX goal. So, Mr. Adams, our coach, who is a physics teacher by day and PBIS coach by whatever, he was in the training, he was conducting the training, and one of my teachers who I supervised, and I was videoing like I'm doing today, upped and said, well, I think this is too much, we're not gonna do this. And I said, Mr. Soever, this is a part of your TEEX goal. If you don't do this, you understand it. And so I'm not, and again, it's not more than 80-90% of our staff have bought into it already, so we're not forcing anyone to do stuff. But again, it's leadership. You have to make it a part of what you're doing. And there's a lot of things that I don't feel like doing, but because I'm getting paid by Cobb County Schools, I gotta do it, right? So there's some volunteer stuff in there that, that you can have your staff do. Next slide.
I received an email the next day from that same employee.
Wanting support and wanting to know what can I do to get right and how can I do it? So, district training and support. Again, like I said earlier, 80% of our staff have bought in, and I can't speak enough for our Cobb County. Most of them are here, directors, assistants. They're here today. So that says our teams from Cobb County stand up. Come on, come, this way, stand. You see it? And so that's support, right? And so you have to have that kind of support if you're going to do it and do it right. Now, some counties are smaller, we get that, and we understand that. But again, as long as whoever's in leadership is supporting what you're doing, it's really, it makes a difference. And we could reach out and ask for anything, any training, and whatever, and they'll come in and they'll provide support, and that really goes a long way. So, of course, we have to re-deliver back to our staff, and don't think that we all, top down, get on to our teachers about PBIS. One of the things I will say is that even with training, Mr. Perry was the first person to do the training. We had Sarah, of course, coming from the district, but we were out there ourselves, letting staff see that, hey, this is important. This is a part. We are going to do this, and we're doing it based on our data. One of the things that we focus on as a school was our tardies, of course, as a high school. Kids being on time for class is a big deal, it's a big thing, skipping, big thing. So that's the big discipline piece that we were focusing on. And so with that, we went into creating our matrix. If you've done PBIS, you've seen the matrix. These are our expectations. And, the PBIS rollout to students and to teachers and for one of the things that we did differently was to create video lessons. Make it user-friendly for teachers. Teachers don't need another thing on their plate. And so we created these video lessons with time built in the video lessons to answer specific questions that we wanted the kids to discuss or talk about. Lessons weren't very long, but we created the lesson so it was plug and play. We got that dedicated time, carved out that 15 minutes or that 20-minute time, and we just made it plug and play for teachers. So the only thing that we do is just lead the discussion. That's it. And it moved on from there. So is that it for me? Just mention about the lessons. Yeah, talk a little bit about the lessons.
Good afternoon, my name is Joshua Adams. I am, again, the physics teacher at South Cobb High School and the coach at South Cobb. And before I do begin with this, I do need to double down on what was said earlier. I was proud enough or benefited enough to have both of my administration here. I also have my PBIS support and my wellness support from the district. The only reason I'm able to be successful in implementing any change is because I have so much support trickling down. And that is the only way you can really get anything done. So one thing I do advocate for y'all is to go advocate for your school. Find a way to get those people empowered to listen and move that needle. That's the only way change will happen, okay? And like Dr. Strong was saying, I come from 10 years in customer service and sales. So for me personally, building relationships is pivotal. I always say, I'm not selling a product, I'm selling what you need and myself at the same time. So with that being said, I noticed in the school systems, it was said earlier, a lot of our teachers are dealing with trauma that they don't even know they're dealing with. They're just reflecting it on students without even knowing they're reflecting it on students. So a big piece that we see that is a disconnect, especially at the high school level, is building those meaningful relationships. By doing this lesson in that 5-minute reflection, it does two very important things. It opens up the dialogue between teacher and student, and the second part is they do it away from the content. I can talk to a student all day about collisions, momentum, and why gravity is so important, right? But it only matters when I can relate it to their life, and specifically relate it to their real life of why French fries tend to fall while they work at McDonald's. It might be the simplest thing, but that simple connection in this 5-minute lesson where they have to reflect allows them to build that relationship, which builds trust, which allows that behavior to actually be done, especially if with what we believe in, we model it. So going back to...
Before you go, in our lessons, we did examples of, or I wish I could show them, they're funny as all get out. We did non-examples and good examples. Who was in the video? The principal, right? And kids see that, and they see us out of context, and it's hilarious. They love it, so they pay attention. And the other piece is, I forgot to mention, you gotta find the right people to do your PBS program, to be your coach, And one of the things, Mr. Perry was very specific on who he wanted, not just anyone on the team. You gotta find the right people. This man is incredible. He is positive. He is, just everything. And the teachers respond to him and they respect him. And so he leads our PD. He's only been teaching how long?
3 years.
Okay. Absolutely. So I don't care if they've been teaching a year. If they're young, or I'm not saying young, if they're excited or whatever, I'm not going to discriminate. But if they're excited and they want to work and they want to be positive, man, find that person and get them. Voluntold them.
That's a true story. I know. I was definitely voluntold. But it's one of those things to where I'm telling you, that doesn't make it a bad thing. Because the second that I heard it, and even then it leads into one of my barriers that I was talking about. The second I heard about PBIS, and I'm noticing I'm asking people, like, you talking about PBIS? I don't remember PBIS. I'm like, well, I don't know about it, so let me talk to you about it. But the second they say, oh, that's positive behavior, boom, you got me something. Because that's what I believe. Once again, we all have negative baggage we can carry, but it's when we can share that positive experience, we become more connected. And like I was digging into, but thank you for that. Modeling the behaviors. Our videos are some of the key parts in building that connection and relationships in the school. So I know that they've experienced it, but I'm walking in the hall, and this was an example where we as the teachers and admin were doing the wrong behavior and had students in the video doing the right behavior. So now they are quick to call you out, giving them that authority and power to, if I might just be walking on the left side of the top, like, hey. Right side of the hall. And that is giving them the power, and they run with it. I promise you they run with it. So now, when it comes to maximizing the structure, once again, you have to have an idea. It all starts with an idea, a goal. PBIS, you have to be goal-oriented. And with us, again, with our principal pushing customer service mindset on our staff and me coming from it, I understood that I'm providing a service to my students. If anything, I tell them all the time, I'm your waiter. Well, what do you need from me? And I think by having that mindset as public servants that we realize we are here to help the next generation. But sometimes they don't know what they need help with. But that doesn't mean I'm still here to be the judge and jury at every decision. I'm not. I do need your input. So with that being said, with maximizing the structure, we have to have a goal in mind. Where do we want these people, our students to go? So you have a vision. The vision then can help you derive your goals. And once you have your goal, you use your data to help guide you into where you need to go. So perfect example, like Dr. Strong was mentioning, this is our matrix. We could not have built our matrix without dissecting the data. Where are the areas that we have trouble? What time do we have troubles in this area? How often do we have people in that area to enforce these issues? And based on looking at the data tells the story of what you need help with. And so we were able to come up with a matrix that has been very powerful in our implementation. Now, is it to the point to where everybody in the school knows the matrix? I'd like to say yes. That's not the case. But are teachers using this as a tool to help and model those desired behaviors? And is it having an effect? Absolutely. Absolutely having an effect. So then now, acknowledging appropriate behaviors. Another thing that we were taught, especially in the tools that we had a cohort to where, I won't tell you how long it took me to learn this word, but you have to provide positive suppositions to your students. You have to be able to say, I believe that you can get to class on time, even though I've never seen you get to class on time. You have to be able to say, I know you have the ability to solve this problem, even though you missed every single problem on this paper. It's okay. You have to provide them with that positive reinforcement, because do you know that you can attest to the fact that you remember negative statements 5 times longer than you remember the positive? Another one, it takes you hearing something positively 20 times to take it to heart, and something negative only about 5 to 7. So you can tell this student they're the best student in the world every single day. But the one day you come in and say, yeah, well, John, you're not doing this right. I don't think you can get it. The one day you have a bad day and then give them a bad day, that's the day they'll remember forever. And I guarantee each of you can remember a time that has happened to you 10, 20, 30 years ago. So that's why being positive and leading with positivity is so important. And that leads us into our next thing. Like all of you just competed for some candy. When I tell y'all that implementing PBIS rewards and really giving these tall middle schoolers candy as a baseline incentive has changed my life. Absolutely changed. Now you can find me in Walmart every Friday on the candy aisle looking for whatever's in sale. They're not picky. But just giving them something to work for. I mean, I had students who didn't even want to write their name on the paper, who are now trying to solve quantum physics equations for me before I even get to the problem, just for a Kit Kat. And think about how powerful that is. It's not that I'm sitting here wanting to give you a piece of candy for getting the problem right. I give kids candy for getting the problem wrong. I want to model the behavior I want to see. And that behavior is just you trying. It's just you trying. So that's one of the huge benefits I see in PBIS rewards and how we implement it. And another way that we can implement it, we would like to show you how we like to implement it, is by doing attendance. Now, the data tells us that we're the only school in the United States that has a tardy and skipping attendance issue, especially in high school, right? Nobody else has that issue, right? 100% attendance every day. But for us, that was a real issue, a major issue. When we looked at the data, it was our top 3 metrics. Which for one thing, also learned how to dissect the data. That also meant that we didn't have much violence. We didn't have a lot of negative activities as our major issue. We can promote that. We can tell that to the students. That is something to be proud of in your community, for the parents and every stakeholder involved. So just figuring out that our major issue is stemmed from tardies, we have our PBIS rewards set up as an attendance assistive tool. So we use Synergy as our attendance, but we also have PBIS rewards. And so during my PD, I instructed the student teachers. I never want to tell them, I gave them options. Because the second I make it mandatory is when buy-in goes down. But again, with the strong arms, you can kind of make things a little more mandatory, right? But for us, I actually simply taught them how you can have Synergy up on one screen and just split screen it, have PBIS rewards up, and then you can just take attendance, you can do it. When I tell you by the time that I finished that PD for the day, teachers had already came up with 4 or 5 different ways for me to do this. So when you give them the options, they'll take it and run with it. And it also does something very important as well. It gives your students authority and power. And we know how much they love to have some power over us. So the biggest thing now is I have kids who, when I look at their attendance numbers, I'm like, how are you students doing? But at the end of the day, we are not the only ones like that. It's a lot of kids in a lot of schools across the board. But when I tell you these are the same students who come to class first and harass me about, hey, Mr. Adams, you didn't put points up. Where are my points? Where are my points? I need my points. I need my points. Hey, everybody, come on, tell them you didn't give us our points. And they rally together behind it, and I love it. I love it. Because you know what? You have to be in class on time to actually test for yourself. So if this is all it takes, giving you 5 points toward an event or to purchase a candy or a Capri Sun, I'll do that all day. Just so I have the opportunity to teach you what you need to learn.
And let me chime in here. When we had teachers who were, I'm not doing this, I'm not giving no points, stuff like that. So we get these emails, principal and, assistants. My teacher's not giving me any points. But legit, they're not giving me any points. Can we do something about this?
And I'm talking this, and I'm getting the emails, they're stopping by my office, stopping me in the halls and saying, yeah, my teacher has not been giving me points, whatever, can you take care of that and handle that? And I'm not talking just about freshmen who are coming from middle school who may do it. These are seniors. I'm doing, when I do, it was, a couple months ago, earlier, doing morning announcements one time, and I had the seniors in there from our SGA, and they do the announcements, and one of the girls were like, yeah, my so-and-so teacher is not giving me my points, and the other one's like, yeah, mine's not either, like only Mr. Adams gives me mine, but no one else does. And these are like 18, 19-year-olds. So we're saying that that moment is when I said, okay, there's some stuff that's working because kids are working towards something. And so when they're working towards something, they're gonna have a better output. And that's all we're looking for.
That is so true, and it's so funny too because I like to say like this is the first staff meeting we had after the PBIS rewards. You know, we had some good buy-in. I was able to put up a top 25 of all this, the 25 staff members who were implementing, and then I let them know that this a very simple small star they called them a PBIS champion would be presented to each teacher who actually was giving their awards.
They didn't work for that. No, they didn't work for that. Am I lying or what?
When I tell you that I have to ask for time off or get somebody to watch my class to deliver all the stars to the teachers who want to participate, we have a staff of about 150, 160 teachers. After I pulled our report from our last month of doing it, we had about only 10 teachers who had not given me any points at all. So it works. It works. And y'all know what all you go through in the classroom, teachers go through in admin. I had one teacher even cry when I gave her her award because one, she didn't realize it. Two, when I went in, I typically do a thing where I have the students give them a round of applause, and they started saying things like, "You're my favorite teacher," and she stepped out and said, I didn't even know half these things like you. Like you really don't know the impacts that you are having. So I also appreciate the fact that teachers, we have a way that we can incentivize the teachers through the rewards. And again, it's something that's very simple. And even outside of rewards, that's something we really try to make sure that every single stakeholder involved feels a level of appreciation and ownership. Another thing that we did previously was for the Thanksgiving holiday, we had the students write a thank you letter to their favorite teacher, and we delivered it. And we really worked hard to make sure that at least each teacher received one. Once again, had multiple teachers crying, had multiple teachers saying, I didn't even know this kid knew my name. It was just a lot of surprise that carried them through the rest of the year. You would see those thank you letters posted on their door. Some of them framed them, some of them taped them to the wall. But these are things that they will forever hold dear to their heart. And it was just a simple sheet of paper. So now, for the barriers. So once again, it's been stated in almost every meeting I've seen today. It's been a big thing that they talk about, but making sure you do not interfere with instructional time is key. And I understand you. I'm a teacher myself. Whenever things come down the pipeline that cuts from my instructional time, I'm like, oh joy, less time to study for that unit test. That is so important, right? But there are times where we have to figure out ways to, one, work with the system and work within the system. If you have to, again, talk with your admin, figure out a day to where most schools I know have a calendar to manipulate either your schedule or ask for permission with the school schedule to add things to the calendar to where it doesn't interfere. That's just the things we have to do. It may be a little tedious, may have to go and ask for some people to move some things around, but just those simple conversations to make sure instructional time is not interfered goes a long way. When you then go to the teachers and be like, hey, we're gonna actually just meet for like 10 minutes after school because it's not a long meeting, but I just don't wanna hold you up or take away from your test. I know y'all are getting ready for the EOC, the SAT, the ASVAB, whatever the case is. Y'all are preparing for something. Let's not take away from that. That means a lot for you, and that does help you a lot with buy-in. So not interfering with that structure on top, or interfering with it as little as possible would be my best idea, best suggestion with that. The last thing is making sure that every task that is needed in your school is delegated out properly. It was stated in our last meeting that you need skilled workers, and you have a lot of skilled workers in your team. One of my favorite phrases is you have to know your soldiers. I can't go into combat with a medvac. That's probably not gonna work best for us. But if I know that this person does well with videos, this person is well with communication, and this person is well with when it comes to the designing of the backgrounds or something, I can delegate a task to each member to help take the stress off of admin, who is again fighting that good fight to make sure you're supported, and yourself, who has to be the overseer in that invisible hand, making sure that every piece is moving appropriately in these different systems that you will have to implement when you roll out PBIS. There are a couple systems, but as long as you delegate it, you are good to go, I promise you. Next thing is clear communication and consistent communication. Forming some type of, having your team leader being a communicative piece and having your open calendar, open emails and just making sure you have a form, whether it's a group message, a Teams. There needs to be constant communication. And I mean constant communication and consistent communication. The worst thing is you would hate for it, and it happens, but you would hate to be trying to operate for an event or something, and then one of your team would be like, oh, I didn't know we had started preparing for that. And it's like, well, I did need 2 extra hands, so that would have been great. But again, without that communication, and a lot of us, with us being who we are and coming to this conference, we're the workhorses. We do a lot of the work. And for a lot of us, that's okay. We don't really have the worst problem with it. But then what happens at the end of the day? You feel overwhelmed. Now you're stuck in it, and you don't want to be. And every day isn't a good day. That's just true. So you have to make sure that you communicate. So on those days to where you are overwhelmed and you have a lot on your plate, you have a clear system in place to get all the information out, every piece that is a moving piece moved, and make sure that each thing is covered, okay? Now the last part is the student and staff buy-in. Once again, I've kind of touched on this, but when it comes to students, the biggest thing you can do is empower them. Give them the authority, make sure they are heard, and build positive relationships. Just like Dr. Strachan said, they have no problem telling on any teacher who is not giving out their points. And for some reason, I don't know when I became an enforcer or something, but they're like, hey, my teacher don't give some point, go get him. And I'm like, that's my coworker. Like, I'm not even their boss. Like, I could go have a polite conversation with them. But a lot of the times, I empower them to go have that polite conversation. Like, that gives you a little bit of authority in your life. Hey, how are you doing today, Miss XYZ? I just noticed that you haven't been getting PBIS points, and if I don't get enough points, then I won't be able to go to the event. I'd hate for you to be the reason why. And that guilt trip works. It works. But again, they weren't disrespectful. They learned how to speak up for themselves, and not for nothing, they showed their comfortability with you to have that conversation. Now the door is open for you to build a relationship. Now that door is open for you to build a relationship. And that helps you both ways. There's a lot of staff members who, on my end, when I first started this, and they saw that I have an ability to be annoyingly positive, I would say that, and they felt comfortable talking to me, they'd say, I don't really know how to relate to my kids. I don't know, they don't really engage with me in class. I have 0 participation. Then we get to talking, and I realize, okay, do you have opportunities for relation building moments? And a lot of them know. It's so instruction, it's so curriculum based that they forget the fact that these are little people. You're a big person. Y'all have things in common that you can talk about, that you can build a relationship off of. And so when all these barriers are addressed and properly handled, it doesn't still create for the 100% perfect world as far as with PBIS in the school, but what it does is it allows for the resistors, that's what I call them, it allows for the resistors to really have to more so fall in line. And anything negative that they would have to say, they really don't have an avenue to express it. They truly don't. And with the resistors kind of being suppressed, everything that you were trying to accomplish becomes a lot smoother. It truly does.
And the data speaks for itself. When your numbers start to go down, or when you're starting to see, like he'll share some things early on, you have an event that is crowded because there's too many kids. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, right? We see you do some things differently, but you're seeing the results, and kids are coming to school and we're buying back because teaching behavior is instruction. You're getting back time that you would have lost.
And so like Dr. Strachan just said, for us, with our points, our biggest thing was using the data to show where we had an issue. Our issue was tardiness and making sure students get to school on time. So we adopted PBIS rewards as a tardy assistive tool. With that tardy assistive tool, as long as students were to go to, we had a 30-day period to where students had to attend to school every single day. They would receive 5 points every single period. There's 4. So at the end of the week, that was 100 points they could have accumulated, and in 4 weeks, that's 400 points. So we took an 80% of that 400, which was 350 points. And we made that the ticket purchase price to attend our Soar and Socialize event. So what that means is, for you to receive a ticket, you need to be on to class 80% of the time in a month. That's pretty fair metric. Also, students had opportunity to earn points by following or modeling some of the behaviors stated on the matrix. Were you being respectful? Did you show integrity? Were you dedicated and engaged in the classroom? If so, here's a couple points. So they had ample opportunities outside of just arriving to class on time to receive the points. But as long as they did receive at least 350 points, they were able to purchase a ticket and come to the Soar and Socialize event. Now, like Dr. Strong said, when we started this event, I believe we were floating at around, before we started it, we were floating at around 600-700 referrals for tardies. We just did our PBIS meeting last night and we're down 50%. 50%. Now for us, we know we still have a long way to go, but that was huge. And it was reflected in our event. Originally, when I was showing kind of my novice knowledge, right? As I was planning for this event, I was planning for about 200-300 kids to really get there. And the whole time there was this voice right there in the back of my head saying, hey man, you might want to plan for more. Hey man, you might want to plan for more. And sure enough, the week before, he's like, hey, what's that report number? And I'm like, it's 600. It's 600 kids on there. Which one made us very proud, but two put us in a position where we had to reward all 600 kids. And we were gonna make sure we did so. We made sure we did so. So for the event, we simply got some shaved ice, some popcorn, some chips, and we allowed the kids to have, what is it, 45 or an hour of the last about 45 minutes, so half of their last period to enjoy on a Friday, 45 minutes of soaring and socializing with their friends how they would like to.
And the cool thing is that, yeah, there were some basketballs and some other stuff, but then we just decided, let's just put some bubbles up there and some coloring sheets and all that stuff. And the 19 and 18-year-olds were like, we need some more tables, and ain't enough bowling tables. You know?
Do you have a recommendation? You guys are a larger school, correct?
2,100.
Okay, we have 3,000 at Camden High. And my biggest pushback, I've kind of presented something like this because tardies are our #1 referrals, tardies to school specifically. And I've introduced kind of an idea like this, but I keep getting pushback for administration because of the numbers and the safety issue. And so what I'm a novice too, this is my first year being the PBIS coach, so I still have not figured out what particular wording it might take to get him to not make everything an instant no because he's afraid of the safety numbers. Like we have a gigantic stadium we now own again, we bought it back from the rec center, so I'm like, let's do it at the stadium, but everything is a safety issue, which I get from an administrative standpoint, but I don't know what to say to get him to potentially even consider it.
Go ahead. Well, I would just say, the biggest thing that we learned from this event is there's some logistical things that we need to tighten up that we learned from there. Actually, when I came around the corner and I was going into the gym, there were kids everywhere. I was like, I can't lie, I did. I told them, I was like, okay. But then just standing there for literally maybe 5 seconds and just catching the vibe and looking, they were in there for a reason. They earned to be in there. Their kids were doing what they're supposed to do. So it's just a lot of them, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. But there was just some logistics. So I would say just make sure to have a plan, like as far as making sure you have a certain amount of people by the exits, people manning certain stations if you have different food and stuff like that if you're going to provide, but just having that plan so that way they know what's going on. If you just come with an idea without what that plan looks like, then I can see it because yes, that's going to be the first question is, okay, what about this? Right. So just having all that, think about that and have your team think about those things and present all of that.
Plan it and then say,
yes,
it's all done,
yes,
just
definitely.
say it.
And getting, is there an AP as a part of your team?
Yes, Coach Testing.
Okay. full disclosure, I spent most of my career in this school system she's
I thought
talking about. So if you could win that person over to your side, I mean, that's going to be huge.
He's tried to. Yeah, no, this is like, he's tried to.
Your student services director is here because I gave him a hug.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Get him over to your side also. You gotta win. You gotta win. And like Mr. Perry said, he said initially, one of the things he said is that you gotta have an AP in your ear. I've been in this ear ever since I met him at PBIS for years. All right. And so you just gotta keep at it. Don't get weary. And like he said, plan it, organize it, come with everything they can think about. You come with an answer. Like he always says, don't bring me your problems without bringing me no solutions.
And have the whole plan. That's one thing as a principal that I like. And you see, I spoke this at the very beginning for a little bit. This is their show. Right? So what we do as a school, this is things I expect is my vision. However, they're running it. And so we have a plan. So same thing. If you come in, it's like, here's everything. Principal's like, so what do I have to do? If the answer is nothing, that's the best. That's the best. So as long as they don't have to do anything, I'm like, what do I have to do? If I don't have to do it, then okay, and it's good for kids, and we're gonna roll with it.
The last thing I'll let you know, we were actually thinking about doing, in case there is that big event, is being separated by curriculum.
Yeah, that's part of the plan. Yeah,
So you guys do this monthly?
Great question. So we actually, again, this was our, just to let y'all know, being transparent. That's another thing. I'm transparent, y'all. Everybody has what they're going through. We're all going through a lot of the same stuff, okay? So being transparent, we just had this event at the end of October, beginning of November. We did the reflection on it the last month, and we just last night came up with our new schedule on how we're gonna do this. We're probably gonna do it in every 6 to 8 week sections, and we only have 3 more left for the end of the rest of the year. So that's the pacing that we figured out with, and gives us the opportunity to have those micro, small PBIS events in between that wouldn't require all this setup.
So do you do anything in between there? Because like what we did before, what we've been implementing and trying to, because our coach left. She went to middle school. But we are trying to do like where they can come and get 5 chips or snacks or stuff in between. And we did our first one because we don't have a lot of stuff behind it. And so like I did the same thing you did, tell your teachers, give your points, because our it seems to be our 11th and 12th grade teachers, they're not giving points. And they're like, well, we'd rather give extra credit for their grades. And it's like, well, you can incorporate that into,
No, I'm actually going to defer that over to Principal Perry because he has such an amazing system that he had actually brainchild and came up with.
Yeah, I have a thing called in-class on task, and started it last year. Basically, for any students for that month or that time frame who have, who are not tardy, who are on time and haven't missed any class, as well as do not have any discipline referrals, then we'll have a little treat for them, whether it's, we started off with like donuts and cupcakes. I remember the first time doing it, didn't realize that so many kids were wanting to make sure to be on that list for the next time. I even went to a class, in the middle of class, I was talking to a teacher, and the student asked if he could talk to me, and she was like, sure, and I was like, yeah, what you got? And he said, hey, I'm gonna be on that list next time. I'm gonna be on time. And so like they saw that, I just didn't think it was that big a deal. So I said, well, if the donuts and cupcakes is what's gonna get our students to be in school and be on task, I can pay for that, it's fine. So now we do it each month, and so that's a smaller deal. We do it during our lunchtime, and our community, we have communities and school support, they help out, but that's just, all it is just having some type of treats there during lunch. We have a table set up, and we have a list based on the students, and they just come by, say their name if they're on the list. Sometimes they don't know, they're like, I should be, or probably not, but I might ask anyway. They know or not. But it's been growing, so the thing about that is, even though it's not points given specifically, but it is a PBIS, it is a product from the system, basically, because it's helping, because in our numbers have went down from September. We did a September, October, and November. About to do the December one here when we come back. But from September we had 540 students. October we had 632, and then for this last month we had 799. And so I want the numbers to keep going up. That's fine. I'll buy the food. It's not a big deal. Events like this, we do want a lot of students in it. It's just about having the logistics and having things taken care of.
Because our school's about the same size, so same problems.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's the tardy and the landscaping.
So we actually prepared for y'all the video so you can see.
There was a question.
Yeah, one quick question. Funding, how do you guys fundraise for these events? Do you fundraise, like, because it's such a large school, a large number, how do you, that's been another problem for us, is figuring out, we have all these ideas, but money is the thing. And we use parking tickets to fund PBIS, but at the same time, they only pay those tickets before homecoming, before prom, because that's how they are able to buy those tickets if they don't have any fines. So we only get twice a year where money is coming into the fund.
Yeah, great question. We have, like I said, we have a called Communities and School Support, and so they have resources that they're able to use. Besides that, I've reached out to our partners in education, and oftentimes they've given some things, and other than that, then I'll just buy it from principal discretion because I believe in it.
So to help with that as well, if you notice and look at that actual event, we didn't go with high ticket items at all. Like the tubs of shaved ice we got, it was like $25 for almost 3 gallons. We had water, popcorn, and chips. So even though we do have funding, we're not overspending. We try to keep it very modest so that we can reproduce this cycle as many times as we can.
Your community, and just get your community involved. I mean, letters or email, just there's technologies the way it is right now. You can just get anyone, and the more you get them involved and sell what you're trying to do, they'll buy in. Their folks will buy
So
in.
here is a video showing the actual event for you guys. Right, and the funniest part is the thing that we've asked to not continue is the basketball. So they like the coloring sheets more than they like basketball. But once again, we thank y'all for listening. And if you have any questions, we are here to answer any questions that y'all may have. Okay? Oh, and also, you can definitely feel free to email us at any point. We were glad to talk to you or help with anything. Thank y'all for coming.